Hey y'all, Chantel Red, the grown-ass teenager in the building. I'm a little late, however, it's better late than never. The 10 correction officers that murdered Messiah Nantwi finally got indicted. It wasn't for murder, but let's watch the story.
A grand jury indicted 10 corrections officers for the beating death of prison inmate Messiah Nantwi. It happened in Midstate Correctional in Marcy in the beginning of March. Nantwi was 22. He was serving time for criminal possession of a weapon after a shootout with police in 2021. He was later connected to 2 other shooting deaths in Harlem. Now 15 corrections officers, including 3 sergeants, were placed on administrative leave in the aftermath of Nantwi's death. Well, during the arraignment in Oneida County this afternoon, we learned the charges each man will face. Jonah Levy and Caleb Blair face murder in the second degree, along with several other charges, including manslaughter. Thomas Eck, Craig Clemich, and Daniel Berger's top charge is manslaughter, first degree. Other officers, Francis Chandler, he faces a gang assault felony. David Ferrone and Nicholas Vitale are facing a conspiracy charge. Michael Eifert is charged with tampering with evidence. Donald Slauson charged with intent to defraud. Overall, there are 12 counts that were read to the defendants today. Now, details related to Nantwi's beating death are extensive within the court document.
See, now I have a problem with all of these extra charges. If they were regular people and not officers, they would have all got charged with conspiracy to commit murder or something like that. But these charges, I mean, covering up, it's all a conspiracy. Y'all all conspired with each other. They should all have conspiracy, not these bullshit charges. But let's keep going.
The injuries he suffered after being struck dozens of times. The special prosecutor, Onondaga County DA Bill Fitzpatrick, talked after the court was done today.
Many other corrections officers, apparently intentionally, either turned off their cameras, placed them in an area of concealment, or simply looked the other way. Kunkel ambulance personnel responded to the infirmary following a call at 11:36 a.m. At approximately 11:47 a.m. and at that point detected no signs of life in Mr. Nantwi. It was determined by the Onondaga County medical examiner that Mr. Nantwi died from traumatic brain injuries as a result of violent blows to his head, as well as at least 69 other serious blows about his body.
Matt, that beating that you just heard DA Fitzpatrick describe, he says that happened all unfolding in just a matter of seconds, with everything going from calm to total vicious chaos. It's the second time in just a few months that corrections officers in New York State have come to this courthouse in Utica in handcuffs to face charges related to beating a man to death with depraved indifference for human life. 10 officers face charges in the beating death of 22-year-old Messiah Nantwi at Midstate Correctional. A grand jury alleges that the emergency response team arrived at Messiah Nantwi's cell the morning of March 1st to respond to a disciplinary issue that was already resolved.
7, 8 CERT officers go into a room. I don't think it's unreasonable for a civilized society to expect that the inmate comes out alive. And in this case, that didn't happen.
DA Fitzpatrick says the officers delivered dozens of blows to Nantwi. He says the attack started in his cell and continued in a stairwell. Officers allegedly kept hitting him in the transport van to the infirmary, where he was left unattended. Medical personnel said he had no signs of life when they reached him, according to Fitzpatrick.
Okay, I understand that the CERT team was called because the situation was going on. If the situation had already subsided and it was over, why did they still go into his cell? Okay, maybe he was a problem and y'all still wanted him to get out the area. They didn't have to beat him like that. The disregard for life is nuts.
The people entrusted to our care deserve better.
Daniel Marducello, leader of the state prison system, says he's committed to change, a promise he made after officers allegedly beat Robert Brooks to death just across the street at Marcy Correctional in December. What changes will now be made to ensure we aren't standing here again in a month?
Yeah, so when we began down the road of really doing a culture assessment after the Robert Brooks case, we hired external law firms to conduct a full review of the system, which is currently underway. They're looking at our policies, our procedures, our training.
The special prosecutor overseeing both cases says he now sees issues with the system.
I don't think any rational prosecutor could stand in front of you for the second time in 6 weeks talking about cases that have remarkable similarities and say to you that everything is fine.
An activist representing Nantwi's family, unable to make it to Utica from New York City, says this kind of brutality routinely goes unchecked.
It's a normal thing that happens in prison, that a lot of incarcerated individuals put in complaints over and over and it goes unheard of.
Some officers, depending on their charges, were released on their own recognizance. Others, if it was afforded to them as an option, posted bail. All are out tonight, expected back in this courtroom, Matt, later on in May to consider plea deals and the evidence against them.
Not gonna lie. A ROR is crazy. A ROR is nuts, bro. A man is dead. For those of y'all who don't know what a ROR means, it means released on your own recognizance. It means, no problem, you committed a crime, but we gonna let you stay on the streets and because we believe that you will come back to court on your court date. Like, again, if this was regular people, no one gets a ROR when someone is dead. I've never heard of that. Bail is even crazy for murder. Because it's probably, they didn't say how much, but it's probably the same thing like them other guys, like 20,000, some bullshit. They should not be able to plead all the way down to a misdemeanor. A man has died. Regardless if he was a jerk, regardless he had a shootout with police, regardless that he was a career criminal, he's a human being. And nobody deserves to get beat to death like that. I keep on saying that. Let me run that back. There are people that deserve to get beat to death like that. People that do stuff to children, to innocent kids, child abusers and child molesters. They deserve those type of fates.
Reporting in Utica, I'm Connor White.
Serious charges and a grave outcome. Connor, thank you. Now, in addition to murder, the 11-count indictment spells out in great detail how each of the 10 defendants are accused of trying to cover up the crime.
On March 2nd, at the direction of a sergeant, all the men charged and others met at Raspberries for breakfast. The local diner, according to the grand jury indictment, served as a spot for everyone to, quote, develop and coordinate the false narrative that nothing improper was done. It was one of many steps these men are accused of taking to cover up what really happened.
Some of the people that we interviewed who are cooperators admitted to this 2 conspiracies. 1, the planting of the shank, and 2, the falsifying the reports.
Conspiracy requires overt acts, actual things defendants did to commit crimes. The indictment describes how a sergeant, quote, ordered a corrections officer to retrieve a weapon that had been confiscated earlier that day in an incident totally unrelated to the assault on Messiah Nantwi, and later notes how another officer volunteered to falsely claim that he or she discovered the weapon. At another point, officers, quote, set about to mop up all the blood in the room, thus preventing law enforcement from conducting a detailed analysis of blood splatter evidence. All of these accused crimes occurred to help complete required reports that the COs had to file whenever there is a use of force incident.
Being a prosecutor, I want to prove things with facts and statements and eyewitnesses, and they kind of looked at me and said, well, it was kind of understood that we do it that way. I mean, that's not good enough for a jury, and I'll present more proof than that. But that to me is problematic.
If convicted, these crimes of conspiracy, tampering with evidence, and falsifying reports carry much lighter sentences than murder, manslaughter, or gang assault. But at trial, this could be crucial for prosecutors to show a jury steps they believe the defendants took to cover up these more serious crimes. Once again, these men pled not guilty to the charges they face.
Hopefully now that these things are coming out, a change will be made. You know, maybe they need to put some cameras up in the state facilities. Because in the city, they got cameras everywhere. You can't even scratch your ass without a camera catching you on it. So they need to put those cameras also in the state. They also need to continue to hold these officers accountable, so that way this is not so regular for them. So they say, no, hey, if I beat this inmate to death, I may possibly go to jail. But they still not holding them fully accountable. I mean, is this not a conspiracy? They conspired to plan a weapon. Then they also met at the diner and discussed it. Everybody got together and discussed what they was going to do, say. Is that not conspiracy? If all you did was mop up the blood, or all you did was falsify a documentation, I'm sorry, y'all, I got allergies. Once you went to that diner and had that conversation with your fellow officers, you're now in a conspiracy. You guys are conspiring with each other. Like, the fuck? It is what it is. We get what we get and we don't get upset. Does that apply here? I don't think so. Lady y'all.